good evening. I am Naomi Sinoy and I'm from Group 6. This is our online report, and the purpose of this document is to provide a comprehensive overview at the topic, the competition among the few. Throughout this report, you will find details, insight, data analysis, and key finding to help understand the current status and future outlook. Once again, sir, good evening to you and to my classmates either. Let's tackle the competition among the few. This is our report actually in Group 6. Behavioral imperfectionist competition. When you hear the word competition, it can be sports, game, rivalries, market and businesses, and etc. as long as competition. Let's talk market structure continuum, ranging from perfect competitions, monopolistic competitions, oligopoly, and all the way in monopoly. First, perfect competition. It means that it's found when a large number of firms produce an identical product. Found large number of firm an identical product. When you say perfect competition, that kind of market, there's no single firm can influence the market price. It means that firm are price taker and must accept the prevailing price set by the overall supply or demand in the market. Actually, perfect competition have a characteristic like many buyer and seller. Second is identical prices or product, or free entry and exit. And lastly, perfect information. Perfect competition, just like athletes in sports. Like most business in the market compete of your money and attention. But what that competition look like, or how many businesses and what they competing about. Let's take an example, like a market that face a lot of competitions. The wheat market. The wheat market, in fact, the industry face so much competitions that economy call it perfect competition. Once again, perfect competition, that all firms must accept the price determined by the instruction of total market supply and demand. That's all the mean of perfect competition. Let's continue to the next behavior and imperfectionist competition. The next is monopolistic competitions. Occur when a large number of firms produce slightly differential product. Kini siya as the production slightly differential product. Dili siya pareha sa perfect competition nga identical product. Actually, kini nga monopolistic competition as nag-feature siya sa monopoly and perfect competition. Kini ko nga market structure where many firms offer product or service that are similar but not perfect substitute due to product differentiation. Actually, napuna siya characteristic ang monopolistic competition. Nadiri ang many buyer or maraming producer. Kini nga mini buyer is no single firm can dominate the market or influence competitors' market strategy. Next is product differentiation or lahi-lahi nga produkto. The next is productive inefficiency. Kanang competition bitaw siya nga dili tugma sa product or presyo. Actually, monopolistic competition, despite that their inefficiency, monopolistic competition benefits the consumer through product variety and innovation. The competitive pressures encourage firms to improve quality and develop new features or enhancing consumer choice and satisfaction. Magina ang monopolistic competition. Let's proceed to the third behavior of imperfect competition, the oligopoly. So, means that it's an intermediate form of imperfect competition in which an industry is dominated by a few firms. So actually, oligopoly have another means. So when you say oligi means few, and poly is seal. So it means that the few sealer ang oligopoly. So it's a market structure in which there are only a few sealer but more than two. So now oligopoly somewhere lies between monopoly and monopolistic competition. Kaya kung mayroon kag monopolistic competition magiging kay nag-feature po siya sa monopoly and perfect competition. So when you say oligopoly is lies siya between sa monopoly and monopolistic competition. Like, nagkakuan-kuan sila ba? Nag-ilis-ilis sila. So, okay, so and this seller are selling homogeneous and differentiate product. So, oligopoly is sometimes also known as competitions among the few, as they are few seller in the market, and every seller influenced by the behavior of other firm. So, whatever our firm or one firm does, it influence the production price output of other firm, also because if he reduce the price, the consumer will go to that firm only. So that's the oligopoly means. So, and lastly, the monopoly. Monopoly means as the most concentrated market structure in which a single firm produce the entire output of the industry. So, actually, monopoly DI is a market that are good and service where there is only one supplier. It faces the competition and there are no more substitute for the good and services is offering. So, kung mag-listen mo sabot is, it's mean that economic consider monopolies to be the most extreme form of imperfect one. Why? Okay, so example as natural monopoly. Para sa tubig, kuryente, kung asa usara ang company nga nag-offer ana, muna means sa monopoly. So, ang mga characteristic niya kay like single seller or the price discriminations. So, actually, monopoly, they often produce less and charge higher price the firm and competition's market, resulting in deadweight loss, a less or economic welfare. So, that's the mean of monopoly. Single firm or usa ka company ang nag-offer sa usa ka product. So, that's all the means sa upat ka behavior or imperfect competition.
So, good day sir. I am Gian Sumotya. So, ako ang mo-continue sa discussion ni Noemi Sinoy. So, next nga discussion natin is ang market power. So, market power signifies the degree of control that a single firm or a small number of firms have over the price and production decision in an industry. So, ang market power kay nani siya ability or kakayahang mo control sa mga price kay di ba from the word power. So from the word power maka-think gid ka nga mo control ni siya nani siya ability to control sa price ana nga product or service by manipulating its supply or demand a characteristics of price makers rather than price takers in a competitive markets. Then, next is ang concentration ratio, the most common measure of market power for industry. So, concentration ratio, an economic metric that measures the market dominance of the largest firms in an industry by calculating the sum of their markets. So, ang concentration ratio is kanang kuano nila ang pag-calculate ani niya kay kuan if the top 3 firms have market shares of 30%, then 20% and 15% kay i-add ni siya. So, the three firm concentration ratio would be 30% plus 20% plus 15%. So, if i-add na siya ang tulo, kay ang result is 65%. So, next is 4 firm concentration ratio. Excuse me. So, 4 firm concentration ratio measures the fraction of the market or industry accounted for by the 4 largest firms. So, ang 4 firm concentration ratio kay kanisad kay calculates the total market share held by the 4 largest firms in an industry. So, ang pag-calculate ani is step by step sad. So, first is find the total industry sales. Then, step 2, find the sales of the 4 largest firms. Then, ang last is step 3, divide the total sales of the top 4 firm by the total industry sales and multiplying by 100 to get the percentage. So, if itotal to nimo ang ang 4 largest firms, diba? If makuha na to nimo ang total, kay inigkaw man, i-multiply nimo siya into 100 para makuha ang percentage. So, next is ang 8 firm concentration ratio. So, as the percent of the market taken by the top 8 firms, the market is customarily measured by domestic sales, shipments, or output. So, ang pag-calculate sa aning ang 8 firm concentration is calculated by sum the market shares of the 8 largest firms in an industry expressed as a percentage. So, ang pag-calculate sa inyo siya is una is find the market share for each of the top 8 firms. So, pangitaon nimo ang mga market shares kanang usa, di ba, for each sa top 8 firms. Then, if nakuha na to nimo or nakakita na is add ang 8 ka percentage. Then, ang example ani is kanang example na ay market shares nga 23%, 17.5%, 11.25%, 9.5%, 6.15%, 4.35%, 3.6%, and 3.15%. If i-add to nimo siya, if i-add nimo siya tanan ang 8 ka percentage ka mga market shares, kay makuha nimo ang 78.5%. So, ito. So, next is ang Herfindahl-Hirschman Index or HHI. So, kaya siya is better captures the rule of dominant firms. This is calculated by summing the squares of each participant's market shares. So, ang kaning Herfindahl-Hirschman Index is nana siya formula nga gamiton, di ba? Nana siya formula, di ba? Isa. For example, for a market consisting of 4 firms with shares of 30, then 30, then 20, and 20. So, na siya upat, di ba? 30, 30, 20, and 20. So, upat siya. Di ba? 4 firms man. So, upat. Ka 20% na siya. The HHI is 2,600. So, ang pagkuha na niya mong na 2,600 is 30 to the power of 2 plus 30 to the power of 2 plus 20 to the power of 2. Diba ito? 30 to the power of 2, then 20 30 to the power of 2, then 20 to the power of 2 plus 20 to the power of 2. So, if, di ba, ang 30 times 30 kay ilaman, di ba, kanang kuan, isa 30 times 30 kay 900. So, 900 plus 900. So, 900 plus 900 is di ba kanang kuan? 1,800. So, ang 20 times 20 kay 400. So, 400 plus 400 equals 800. So, 1,800 plus 800 equals 2,600. So, maunang ang HII sa 30, 20, and 20% kay ang HII kay 2,600.
Good day everyone, I am Darlene Grace Ibanez and I am here to discuss about the measure of imperfect competition. So, we're going to tackle about is the nature of imperfect competitions and the theories of imperfect competition. So, let's have first the nature of imperfect competitions. We have cause, barrier to competitions, and lastly, the strategic interactions. So, what is cause? Cause, when the minimum efficient size of operations for a firm occurs at a sizable fractions of industry output, only a few firms can profitably survive and oligopoly is likely to result. Next, we have barriers to competitions. Barriers to competitions, when there are a large of economies of scale or government restriction to entry, this will limit the number of competitors in an industry. These factors are called barrier to competitions when they make it difficult to a firm to enter an industry and compete with established players. By limiting entry, this will reduce competitions and leading to high prices, reduce innovations, and less choice for consumer. Lastly, we have strategic interactions. So, strategic interactions is a term that describes how each firm's business strategy depends upon its rivals' business behavior. So, strategic interactions, this means that in a competitive market, firms must consider the potential actions and reactions of their competitors when making decisions about their own strategies. For example, imagine you are a coffee owner and your competitor start offering a new type of coffee. You might consider doing the same thing or promoting existing product differently to stay competitive. To sum up everything, these factors such as cost, barriers to competitions, and strategic interactions lead to imperfect competitions where market don't have many sellers and firms may have some control over prices. So let's move on to theories of imperfect competitions. So we have first the industrial organizations. Industrial organizations, it involves a study of different areas from market power to product differentiations to industrial policy that affect a firm's operations. So, ang industrial organizations, they state that it involves different areas. From market power. Market power is how firms gain and use power to influence prices and output. While product differentiations, it is how firms make their product unique to attract customers. So, lastly, the industrial policy is a government interventions or strategies that affect how industries operate. Next is collusive oligopoly. Collusive oligopoly, it is a degree of imperfect competitions in a market is influenced not just by the number and size of a firms, but their behavior. So, collusive oligopoly is a degree of imperfect competitions depends not just by the number and size of a firms, but in their behavior, whether they compete aggressively or collude, impacting prices, innovations in consumers, welfare, and drawing regulatory attentions in places like the Philippines. For example, when there are two airlines operating along the same route and one raises its fare, the other must decide whether they match the increase or stay with the lower fare, undercutting its rival. So when there are only a small number of firms in a market, they have choice between cooperative and non-cooperative behavior. So let's talk about first the non-cooperative behavior. So when we talk about non-cooperative behavior, is when they act on their own without the explicit or implicit agreements with other firms. So from the word itself, non-cooperative behavior is when they act on their own without explicit or implicit agreements with other firms. Next is cooperative behavior. This is the opposite of non-cooperative behavior. So cooperative behavior, when we can call it cooperative behavior when they cooperate with other firms. Through cooperations of each firms, they can minimize competitions. And lastly, we have collusions. So collusions when firms in an oligopoly actively cooperate with each other. This term denotes a situation in which two or more firms jointly set their prices or outputs, divide the markets among themselves, or make other business decisions jointly. So from definition itself, it clearly states that collusion is when firms in an oligopoly cooperate with each other. For example, there are two operators in the Philippines. The Telco A, which is the Globe Telecom, and Telco B, which is the PLDT, operating in an oligopolistic market. And both operators agree to fix prices for their postpaid plans, setting similar rates for comparable packages. They coordinate to maintain high prices for premium services and agree not to undercut each other's pricing for case services.
Hi everyone, I am Jinjing Sabanal and I'm going to discuss the continuation or sumpay sa theories of imperfect competition, and it is cartel, collusive, monopolistic competition, small number oligopoly, rivalry among the few, and price discrimination. So, let's start. What is cartel? Is an organization of independent firms producing similar products that work together to raise prices and restrict output. So, it is a group of businesses nga magtinabangay instead of magkompetensya aron makontrol ang price of production. Example, oil companies, they agree to raise prices at the same time. Muna cartel, like nagwork sila together instead of competing. Second is collusive. It describes a situation where firms or individuals in a market conspire or cooperate, often secretly, to manipulate market conditions to their advantage. It is when firms cooperate formally or secretly to set prices, limit production, divide the market instead of competing. Examples: two companies secretly agreeing not to lower prices to keep profits high. So, nag-cooperate sila secretly or formally. Mao na ang collusive. Another is monopolistic competition. It resembles perfect competition in three ways. There are many buyers and sellers, entry and exit are easy, and firms take other firms' prices as given. Daghan ang buyers and sellers, easy ra sadya for business to enter and leave, and products are similar but slightly different. It is where many sellers offer similar but slightly different products, Each firm has a little control over the price because their product is unique in some way. Naay similar but naa sad slightly different. Example, fast food chains. Di ba parehas man og pagkaon pero lain-lain ilang brand, ang taste sa pagkaon, and promo. Ang every business makakontrol jud sa price sa iyang product because of their differences or pagkalain-lain gamay. Next is small number oligopoly. A few dominant firms influence the market and their decisions are interdependent. Each firm's action like pricing or production changes directly impact the others, often leading to strategic behavior. Only few large companies control most of the market. Their decisions affect one another. So if ang usa ka company mag-change of price or product, then others usually respond. Example, smartphone industry, where few companies, big brands dominate. Like if magpaubos og price ang usa ka brand sa cellphone, then maalarman na sila and then mukuan og unsay angay buhaton. Next is rivalry among the few. It refers to the competition between a small number of firms or entities within a particular market or industry. Duopoly. Industry output is produced by only two firms. So what is rivalry among the few? Means strong competition between small number of firms na mag-lead sa each companies og price wars, advertising battles. While ang duopoly means duha, so only two firms dominate. Example, Coca-Cola versus Pepsi. Next is competition among the few. It introduces a completely new feature into economic life. It forces firms to take into account competitors' reactions to price and output decisions and bring strategic considerations into their markets. Means small group of firms competing intensely. Companies must think carefully about how their competitors will react to their prices and business moves. These lead to strategic behavior like price matching or timing their product releases. Lastly is price discrimination. It occurs when the same product is sold to different consumers for different prices. When the same product is sold out at different prices to different customers. Example, magsakay ka og tricycle. Ang student is magbayad og 15 while ang regular adults is magbayad og 20. So the product or services is the same but the prices depends on who is buying.